When I came home from Tennessee 2 days earlier than anyone expected, my wife was sitting on the living room floor with blood running from her nose, while our 30-year-old son was 11 feet away, discussing who should get our house after Christmas. That is the first thing you need to know. The second is that nobody had called 911. The third is that my son knew his mother had high blood pressure. The fourth is that she had already told him twice she felt dizzy. The fifth is that his mother-in-law had apparently said, "She's being dramatic because she knows Frank will say no." The sixth is that my daughter-in-law was taking notes on a yellow legal pad about what furniture they would keep if they moved into our house. The seventh is that they had deliberately waited until I was out of state to have the conversation because, according to a text I saw later, Nancy is easier to reason with when Frank isn't hovering. The eighth is that my wife had spent 34 years protecting our son from the full consequences of his bad decisions. The ninth is that I had spent almost as long paying for them. And the 10th is that by the time the paramedics carried Nancy out of our house, I knew I was finished being the man who made everybody else comfortable at her expense. My name is Frank Caldwell. I was 62 years old when this happened, married to my wife Nancy for 34 years, and until that November afternoon, I would have described my family as complicated but close. That description was not exactly a lie. It was simply the polite version of a truth I had spent years refusing to name. Nancy and I lived outside Knoxville, Tennessee, in a 4-bedroom brick house we bought when our son Logan was 6. I owned a commercial heating and refrigeration company with 47 employees, mostly servicing restaurants, medical offices, schools, and a few manufacturing facilities across eastern Tennessee. It was not glamorous work. Nobody writes magazine profiles about the man who keeps a walk-in freezer running at 2 in the morning. But it had given us a good life. We were comfortable. The house was paid off. Nancy had worked 25 years as an elementary school reading specialist before retiring early because of blood pressure problems and migraines. We had retirement accounts. A small lake cabin 40 minutes away that we used 6 or 7 weekends a year. A rental duplex near downtown Knoxville that I bought from a retiring customer 15 years earlier because he needed out quickly and I happened to understand buildings better than stocks. Nothing about us was extravagant. I drove a 7-year-old F-150. Nancy drove a Subaru that smelled permanently like peppermint gum. We traveled some. We helped Logan more than we should have. That last sentence took me a long time to admit. Logan was our only child, not by choice. Nancy lost 2 pregnancies after him, and eventually the doctor told us another attempt was too risky. So Logan grew up carrying the full force of 2 parents who loved hard, worried hard, and mistook providing opportunities for proof we were parenting correctly. He was bright, charming, athletic, and unbelievably gifted at getting himself into a problem exactly 3 minutes before someone else arrived to help solve it. At 15, he forgot a science project until midnight. Nancy stayed up building a model watershed with him. At 17, he backed my truck into a mailbox. I paid for the mailbox before the neighbor finished breakfast. At 19, he overdrew his checking account 3 times in 1 semester. I quietly connected a backup account. At 22, he graduated from college, owing less than most of his friends, because Nancy and I covered what scholarships did not. At 24, he needed a reliable car for work. I helped with the down payment. At 26, he lost a job after arguing with a manager over a promotion he thought should have come sooner. I called a longtime customer who needed an operations coordinator. Logan got an interview. To his credit, he earned the position once he was in the room. To my discredit, I never made him sit very long in the discomfort that might have taught him how much the room mattered. That pattern became our family language. Logan struggled. We helped. Logan recovered. Everyone moved on. Nancy called it being there for our son. I called it family. Neither of us asked whether always being there had started teaching him that consequences were temporary inconveniences other people handled. Then Logan met Tessa Whitmore. She was 27, polished, social, quick-witted, and from a family that considered networking a normal topic at Sunday dinner. Her father, Bradley Whitmore, owned 2 upscale flooring showrooms and had done well for himself. Her mother, Karen, had spent most of her adult life managing the family's social calendar, charity events, vacations, and everybody else's decisions. Karen had a way of saying invasive things with a smile so pleasant, you sometimes thanked her before realizing you were offended. The first time she visited our house, she walked through the kitchen and said, "Oh, this is so charming. You've kept everything exactly the way people did in the early 2000s. Nancy spent the next week wondering whether she needed new cabinets. I said no. She said I did not understand women. I said that was historically supported. We laughed. Logan and Tessa married 2 years after meeting. We liked her enough. She was good to Logan in many ways. She encouraged him professionally. She planned thoughtful birthdays. When Nancy had knee surgery, Tessa brought meals for a week. She also came from a household where everything had a purpose, and increasingly the purpose of family assets seemed to be improving the lives of the people young enough to enjoy them. Bradley and Karen talked openly about inheritance. Not in the morbid sense, in the strategic sense. Why make children wait until they're 55 to benefit from what you built? Bradley said once over barbecue. If you know they're getting it eventually, move things while it can change their lives. I said, maybe the people who built it still have lives. He laughed like I'd made a joke. Logan and Tessa rented a townhouse in West Knoxville after the wedding. Nice place. 2 bedrooms. Good neighborhood. More expensive than necessary. I co-signed because Logan's credit history still carried evidence of several younger versions of himself. Nancy and I gave them $10,000 as a wedding gift. Bradley and Karen gave them $25,000. Tessa joked that we had different love languages. I smiled. But comparison had entered the marriage before the cake was gone. Her parents paid for a Caribbean honeymoon extension. Nancy asked whether we should help with something extra too. Why? I asked. I don't want Logan to feel like we did less. We did not do less. You know what I mean. I did. Tessa's family measured affection visibly. Better gifts, bigger dinners, more elaborate vacations. Nancy began trying to compete without admitting she was competing. I caught her once pricing a new patio set because Karen's was beautiful. Ours works. Ours looks tired. So do I. You keeping me? Debatable. We laughed again. But I should have noticed what was happening. The Whitmores did not need to openly ask us to prove ourselves. We were volunteering. Logan and Tessa started talking about children a year into marriage. Not immediately, but soon. Then housing became the issue. The townhouse is too small if we have a baby, Tessa told Nancy. It has 2 bedrooms, I said. Babies are small. Nobody appreciated that contribution. They looked at houses. The ones they liked were $700,000 and up. Their combined income was good, but not enough to comfortably buy what they wanted. Bradley suggested waiting. Karen suggested thinking creatively. Logan came to me privately. Dad, what do you think about us buying a place with a little help? How little? Maybe 50 toward the down payment. 50,000? Yeah. Do you have 20? Not really. Then you're not 50 short. He became defensive. You know what houses cost. Yes. You have money sitting in investments. Correct. I'm your son. Also correct. So save. Dad. I'm serious. He sighed. You had help when you started. I rented a duplex with orange carpet and ate store-brand cereal for 4 years. Different generation. Exactly. Yours has better cereal. He did not laugh. Nancy later said I had been too dismissive. He's asking for help, not a kidney. We already help. Not like Karen and Bradley. There it was. We are not competing with them. Nancy looked down. I know. Do you? I don't want Logan thinking they do more for him than we do. If Logan thinks love is a payment comparison at 30, we already failed somewhere. She did not like that. Neither did I. The issue faded for several months. Then Logan began talking about our house. At first joking. Mom, you and Dad need all these rooms? Yes, Nancy said. For what? To keep you from moving back. Funny. I thought so. Then Tessa joined. Honestly, this would be the perfect family house. It is a family house, I said. Our family. You know what I mean. I usually don't when people say that. They laughed. Thanksgiving the year before, Karen stood in our kitchen looking through the back windows. This lot is incredible. We like it, Nancy said. You could put a pool back there. We could also not put a pool back there. Karen smiled at me. Frank doesn't believe in fun. Nancy laughed. A month later, Logan asked whether we had ever considered downsizing. No, not even someday. Someday I'll die. Lots of options open after that. Dad, come on. What? I'm just asking. Asked and answered. Then came the lake cabin. Tessa loved it. Everyone did. 2 bedrooms, screen porch, dock, nothing fancy. Laura, no, Nancy. Sorry. After decades of storytelling, names become memory. Nancy and I spent summer mornings there drinking coffee while Logan complained as a teenager that there was no reliable cell signal. After his marriage, he suddenly rediscovered nature. We could renovate the cabin and use it as a family place, he said. It is a family place, but long-term it is mine until it isn't. You're so weird about ownership. I looked at my son. Ownership is literally about ownership. He rolled his eyes. Small conversations. I kept dismissing them. That was my mistake. Boundaries stated like jokes are often heard like jokes. In September, Karen started sending Nancy listings for 55-plus communities. No pressure, every message began. Just saw this and thought of you. Patio homes, condos, one-level living, clubhouses. Imagine no yard work. Nancy forwarded one to me with a laughing emoji. I replied, imagine Karen minding her business. Nancy sent a skull emoji. We treated it as comedy. Then the messages became more specific. This one is only 15 minutes from Logan. This community has guest suites for the grandkids someday. You two could travel more if you weren't tied to the house, Nancy finally responded. We aren't planning to move. Karen wrote, of course not now. I just think sometimes parents wait too long to simplify, and then the kids have to handle everything. That sentence bothered me, not because it was outrageous, because it quietly reassigned our choices to future inconvenience for our son. I told Nancy to ignore it. She did. Mostly. Then in October, I traveled to Nashville for a 3-day business conference and came home to find a glossy brochure from Greenfield Commons on our counter. What's this? Karen brought it. Why? Lunch. Karen had lunch with you? Yes. Why? Frank. I'm asking. She was nearby. Karen is never nearby accidentally. Nancy sighed. She thinks we should look before we need something. Do you? No. Then throw it away. She did. I watched her. Something in her face bothered me. What? Nothing. Nancy. Logan thinks you'd be happier with less maintenance. Logan barely changes his own air filter. Frank. What did he say? Just that the house is a lot. For whom? Us. Did you tell him that? No. Then the house is a lot for his imagination. She laughed, but not enough. I don't want you starting a fight. I'm not. Promise. I promise I will not start a fight. The wording was deliberate, she noticed. Frank. Fine. I won't call. I did not. The next week, Logan came over alone. We sat on the back porch. You mad at me? Why? Mom said you were weird about the Greenfield thing. I'm not weird. I'm clear. I just thought it might be good someday. Then someday when your mother and I discuss moving, we'll discuss moving. Okay. Without your in-laws selecting neighborhoods. Karen gets excited. About my square footage. He laughed. Come on. Logan, listen. I love you. I like Tessa. Your in-laws are not bad people. But you all need to stop treating our future like a problem-solving exercise you've been assigned. His face changed. Nobody's doing that. Good. Then easy conversation. You always assume the worst when it comes to Tessa's family. No. I assume they should manage their assets, and I'll manage mine. You make everything transactional. I stared. That is fascinating coming from this conversation. He stood. This is why I didn't want to bring it up. Then stop bringing it up. Fine. He left angry. Nancy said I had been too hard. He's your son. I know who he is. Then don't make him feel unwelcome here. Nancy, asking him not to plan our move is not making him unwelcome. I just don't want distance. That sentence explains a lot of what came next. Nancy feared distance more than disrespect. I feared conflict more than I admitted to. So we returned to normal without resolving anything. Then came my trip to Denver. It was supposed to last 12 days because I had meetings with a restaurant group considering a multi-location service agreement and a supplier conference afterward. Nancy knew the schedule. Logan knew. Everyone did because Karen had asked whether Nancy wanted company while Frank is away. I joked, lock the doors. The first 10 days were ordinary. Nancy and I spoke every night. She sounded tired but fine. On Monday evening, she mentioned Logan had asked whether he and Tessa could stop by Tuesday. For what? Dinner. On a Tuesday? People eat Tuesday. Suspicious. You think everything is suspicious? Only when it involves our house. Frank. I'm kidding. Mostly. Tuesday morning, my final meeting was canceled because the client's owner had a family emergency. I could have stayed another night. Instead, I found a flight home. I did not tell Nancy because after 34 years, Surprising your spouse with ordinary presents still feels romantic. I landed shortly after 1, got my truck from airport parking, and drove home. It was just after 3 when I turned onto our street. Bradley Whitmore's black Yukon was in our driveway. Karen's Lexus was parked behind Logan's truck. Tessa's crossover was on the curb. 4 vehicles. Tuesday dinner apparently required a committee. I sat in my truck 10 seconds. I could hear Nancy in my head telling me not to assume. So I did not. I grabbed my bag, opened the front door. The first sound was laughter from the kitchen. Bradley's voice, Karen's, Logan's, Tessa's, plates, ice, chairs scraping. Comfortable? The second thing was silence from the living room. Wrong silence. Then I saw Nancy. She was sitting on the floor against the couch. Her legs were stretched awkwardly, one hand pressed under her nose. Blood on her fingers, blood on her cream sweater. Her skin looked gray. Her eyes met mine, and I watched relief break across her face so quickly it terrified me. Frank. Not loud, barely air. I dropped everything. What happened? I'm okay. No. I knelt. How long? I don't know. Nancy. Look at me. Her eyes were unfocused. My head. What about it? Hurts. I pulled out my phone and called 911. While the dispatcher asked questions, I heard Bradley laugh from the kitchen. They had not even noticed I came in. That is the detail I still cannot make fit inside my head. My wife was on the floor bleeding while 4 adults sat 11 feet away talking loudly enough not to hear the front door. I followed instructions, kept Nancy upright, checked her breathing, asked whether she had chest pain. She said no. Nausea? A little? Vision? Blurry. How long have you felt bad? I asked. A while. How long? She closed her eyes. Maybe 30 minutes. My stomach dropped. Did you tell them? Her eyes filled. I told Logan. Everything inside me became cold. The paramedics arrived in 7 minutes. Fast. Professional. One checked her pressure, looked again, then manually. Mrs. Caldwell, has your pressure been running high recently? Sometimes. Any missed medication? No. He looked at me. This is dangerously elevated. We need to transport. I nodded. Absolutely. A second paramedic asked whether something stressful had happened. Nancy looked toward the kitchen. I followed her eyes. That was the first moment the laughter finally stopped. Logan appeared in the doorway. His face changed when he saw the equipment. Dad? I did not answer. Tessa behind him, Karen behind her, Bradley last. 4 people, suddenly sober. What happened? Logan asked. I looked at my son. You tell me. His face went pale. Mom? Nancy closed her eyes. The paramedics moved her onto a stretcher. Karen said, Oh my God, Bradley whispered. We didn't realize. I stood. Kitchen. Frank, Tessa said. Kitchen. They went. I walked behind the stretcher to the front door. Nancy grabbed my wrist. Don't leave me. I'm not. Don't fight. Even then, even bleeding, managing everyone else. I won't. Promise. I promise I'm not going to fight. She knew me well enough to hear the distinction. The paramedics wheeled her out. I told them I would follow in my truck. Then I walked to the kitchen. 4 adults stood around our table. On it were plates, coffee cups, a bakery box, a yellow legal pad, property printouts, and a brochure from Greenfield Commons. Beside it was a handwritten list. Cell House EST, 625K. Lake Cabin Est, 410K. Duplex? Ask Frank later. Renovation budget. Logan. Tessa move in after New Year? I read it without touching anything. Then I looked at Bradley. Get out of my house. He opened his mouth. Frank, I think. No. Karen said. We didn't know Nancy was. Get out. Tessa started crying. Mr. Caldwell. You too. Logan stepped forward. Dad. I held up my hand. Not yet. Please. Not yet. Bradley tried again because men like Bradley believe enough calm language eventually converts authority into permission. Frank, nobody intended for this to happen. We were discussing a practical family arrangement. Nancy became upset. She chose to step away and leave. His jaw tightened. You are emotional. I almost laughed. My wife is in an ambulance. Exactly. That's why we should all take a breath. Bradley, I lowered my voice. The next breath you take inside this house is one I'm allowing. Do not confuse restraint with uncertainty. Karen grabbed her purse. Let's go. Tessa followed. Bradley looked at Logan. Come with us. Logan did not move. Logan, Tessa said. He looked at me. I said nothing. I'm staying. Her face hardened. Seriously? That's my mom. And I'm your wife. I know. Then come. He looked torn. That hurt more than if he had simply chosen one. Go, I said. What? Go with your wife. I'll call you after the hospital. Dad, I don't want you near your mother until I understand what happened. His face collapsed. I didn't. Go. He left. I followed the ambulance to Park West Medical Center. Nancy spent the night under observation. Hypertensive crisis. No stroke, no heart attack. Thank God. The doctor told us stress likely contributed but was not the only factor. Her pressure had been poorly controlled for weeks. We adjusted medication, follow-up, rest. What mattered emotionally was different. At 10 that night, after the lights were low and the room quiet, I asked the question I had been holding. What happened? Nancy stared at her blanket. They came for lunch. All four? Yes. Planned? Yes. Did you know? Logan said they wanted to talk. About? Silence. Nancy. She started crying. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd be angry. What did they want? The house. I felt my jaw tighten. Explain. Not like stealing it. I didn't say stealing. They think we should move to Greenfield after Christmas. Logan and Tessa could take the house. Maybe pay us something later. Bradley thinks the cabin should be sold to renovate this place and give them a cushion. A cushion? For when they have a baby. They're not pregnant. I know. The duplex? Bradley thinks Logan could manage it and eventually it should be transferred. I closed my eyes. How long has this been happening? Nancy cried harder. A few months. How many conversations? I don't know. Nancy. 5, 6? Without me. Mostly. Mostly? Logan tried to talk to you about downsizing, not handing him our house. I know. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought if I could make them stop without a fight. I stood and walked to the window because I needed distance from the part of me that wanted to blame her for hiding it. What happened today? Karen brought the Greenfield brochure. Bradley had numbers. Tessa had renovation ideas. Logan kept saying they weren't asking for anything, just discussing. What made your pressure spike? I said no. Simple. Then, Bradley said I was being sentimental. Karen said the house is wasted on 2 people. Tessa said they can't start a family in a townhouse forever. Logan said nobody was trying to take anything. Then, I asked why everybody had a plan for my kitchen, except me. My throat tightened. Good. Bradley laughed. What? Not cruel exactly. He said, Nancy, nobody's throwing you out. We're trying to help you think ahead before Frank turns this into a territorial thing. Cold spread through me. Then, I told them your name was on everything because we built it together, not because you're territorial. Good. Karen said I always make you sound more rigid than you are. Interesting. Then Tessa said, Mrs. Caldwell, you've had this house for 30 years. We're just trying to build something too. I closed my eyes. There it was. You have had your life. Our turn. What did Logan say? That was the question. Nancy started crying. Nothing at first. Then, he said, Mom, nobody is saying you didn't earn it, but someday it comes to me anyway. I sat down. I felt older. He said that? Yes. What happened when you felt dizzy? I told them my head hurt. Who heard? Everyone. Then, Karen said I was getting worked up. Tessa got me water. Logan asked if I needed my medication. I said I already took it. Then, I went to the living room. Did anyone follow? She looked away. Logan came after a minute. Relief almost arrived. He asked if I was okay. I said I felt strange. And? Bradley called him back. Said he needed to explain the numbers while everyone was there. My hand closed around the chair arm. Logan went? I told him I'd be fine. Because you were fine? Because I didn't want him choosing between me and his wife's family. There it was, the disease beneath the blood pressure. Nancy believed asking our son to prioritize his sick mother was unfair pressure. How long were you on the floor? I don't know. I tried to stand and got dizzy. Did you call out? Once. Did anybody come? Tears. I don't think they heard. 11 feet. They did not hear. Or did not recognize what they heard as more important than the plan. I held Nancy's hand. I need to tell you something and I need you not to defend him. Frank. No. Let me finish. Logan may love us. Tessa may love us. Her parents may genuinely believe they were proposing something sensible. None of that changes what happened today. You told our son you felt unwell. He returned to a conversation about property. Nancy cried. He didn't know. Exactly. What? He didn't know because he did not stay long enough to find out. Silence. That matters. She nodded slowly. I know. And I'm done pretending the money conversations are separate from how they treat us. What are you going to do? Nothing tonight. Frank. I said nothing tonight. She searched my face. Don't punish him. I'm not interested in punishment. Then what? Boundaries. She almost smiled sadly. You've been talking to my therapist. No, I have YouTube. She laughed through tears. Good. I slept in the chair. The next morning, Logan called at 6:30. I answered in the hallway. How is she? Stable. He exhaled hard. Can I see her? Not yet. Dad, she needs rest. I'm her son. Yes. Then why are you keeping me from her? I'm not. I'm giving her one morning without managing your guilt. Silence. That's not fair. No. Yesterday wasn't fair. I made a mistake. Yes. I didn't know how serious it was. Correct. Then why are you acting like I chose to let her die? I am not. It feels like it. That is because consequences feel personal when you have not had many. He went quiet. What does that mean? We'll talk when your mother is home. Dad, not now. I hung up. That afternoon, Nancy came home. I put her on the couch, made soup, took her blood pressure like an annoying nurse. She complained I was hovering. I said she was lucky to have such attractive medical staff. She told me to get her crackers. Marriage. Logan texted every few hours. I gave him updates. Nothing more. Karen sent flowers. Nancy wanted to keep them. I said they were her flowers. Bradley sent a message. We are deeply sorry Nancy's health episode coincided with a difficult discussion. Our intention was only to help the family plan responsibly. Coincided. I read it twice, deleted it. Tessa posted an Instagram story that evening, a photograph of her and Logan holding hands at a coffee shop. Caption. Marriage means standing together when outside pressure tries to divide what God joined. Nancy saw it because a friend sent it. Outside pressure? I asked. Apparently your weather. I'm more of a cold front. She did not laugh. She cried. I hated them for that moment more than the property plan. Not because of social media. Because Tessa had already converted her mother-in-law's medical crisis into a story where she and Logan were the threatened couple. Do not respond, Nancy said. I wasn't going to. Promise. I'm learning promises around you require legal review. She threw a pillow at me. 3 days later, Logan came over alone. He used the doorbell. That mattered. He still had a key, but he did not use it. I let him in. Nancy stayed upstairs because she did not want to see him until after we talked. We sat at the kitchen table where the yellow pad had been. I had not moved it. Why is that still here? He asked. Because I wanted you to look at it. He did. Dad, this got way out of hand. Who wrote the numbers? Bradley. Who wrote Logan, Tessa move in after New Year? Tessa. Who wrote duplex? Asked Frank later. He looked down. Me. Good. Good? Honesty. He rubbed his face. I didn't mean we'd take anything. Then what did you mean? I thought if you and Mom eventually moved. When did eventually become after New Year? Karen said if we found a good place at Greenfield. I asked you. He closed his eyes. I don't know. How long have you been discussing my house with them? A couple months. Did you tell them I said no? I told them you were resistant. Resistant? Dad, no. Words matter. Did you tell them I said no? Silence. No. Why? Because I thought you'd change your mind. Why? Because Mom usually gets you there eventually. There it was. Logan had not learned that my no meant no. He had learned that my no meant convince Nancy first. I sat back. Do you know what happened yesterday from my side? Mom got sick. No. I came home and found my wife bleeding on the floor while my son discussed what he would do with my property. His face collapsed. Dad, That is what I saw. I hate that. Good. I'm sorry. For which part? All of it. No. He looked confused. Specific. He swallowed. I'm sorry I talked about the house after you said no. Good. I'm sorry I let Tessa and her parents treat Mom like she was the easier way to get to you. Good. Tears filled his eyes. I'm sorry I left her in the living room. That one broke him. I thought she was upset. I thought she needed 5 minutes. She told you she felt strange. I know. And I went back. He covered his face. I went back because Bradley was explaining how much the renovation would cost. I did not rescue him from the sentence. I left my mom dizzy because I cared about a renovation. That is the thing you need to sit with. I am. No. You're sitting with losing our approval. Sit with what you did when nobody was watching. He cried harder. What do you want me to do? Nothing for me today. Dad, I mean it. I'm not giving you a punishment list. Then what happens? The old arrangement ends. He looked at me. What arrangement? The one where you are 30 years old but still have access to our money, our credit, our property, our time, our emergency planning, and our house as though none of it requires asking. I don't. Your phone is still on our plan. He stopped. Your truck insurance is bundled with mine because it was cheaper. Silence. The townhouse lease has me as guarantor. That's just because. I know why. The recurring $600 your mother sends monthly? He stared toward the stairs. Mom, we started it when you were between jobs 3 years ago. It never stopped. He looked ashamed. I forgot about that. Exactly. Are you cutting me off? I'm ending adult support that should have ended already. Because of what happened. Because what happened showed me what our support has taught you. You think money made me do this? No. I think never having to feel the full weight of your choices helped you become someone who assumes discomfort can be shifted to someone else. That's brutal. Maybe. Tessa and I can't cover everything immediately. Then make changes. We just renewed the townhouse. Then budget. The truck payment is your truck. Dad, I love you doesn't feel like it. That sentence is the problem. He went quiet. Love is not $600 on the first of the month. Tears rolled down his face. Can I see Mom? Ask her. He went upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen. 15 minutes later, he came down alone. His eyes were red. She said not today. Okay. You're okay with that? It's her choice. She's my mother. Yes. She has never refused to see me. Maybe that is part of why you never learned she could. He left. I did not change the locks that day. I did not call his employer. I did not destroy his life. I sent him a written list of the support ending over the next 60 days. Phone plan, transfer to his name. Insurance, his responsibility at renewal. Monthly transfer, stopped immediately. Lease guarantee, I would not renew when the term ended. Family credit card, removed because there was no reason a married 30-year-old needed one. That was it. Clear, boring, adult. Logan responded, understood. Tessa responded through him, this feels vindictive. I wrote back to Logan, you are free to share my message with your wife. I am not discussing my financial relationship with my son through her. Karen called Nancy. I answered Nancy's phone because she was sleeping. Frank. Karen, we need to clear the air. No. Excuse me? Not today. I think everyone is saying things out of hurt. You came into my house while I was gone to convince my wife to move. That is an outrageous framing. Did you bring Greenfield brochures? Yes. Did you know I had said no? Silence. Logan said you were stubborn about it. Did you know I said no? We thought you needed time. Then why not wait for me to be home? Because conversations with you become combative. Interesting. Nancy is easier to talk to. You mean easier to pressure? That is insulting. Karen, Nancy is recovering from a hypertensive crisis that occurred while 4 people were trying to convince her to leave her home. I am not debating tone. We did not cause her blood pressure. I did not say you medically caused it. I said your behavior was part of the stress she was experiencing. Frank, you are not welcome in our home right now. Silence. What? You and Bradley? You can't be serious. I am. For how long? Until Nancy decides otherwise. You're using her as an excuse. I laughed softly. That sentence is why this call is over. I hung up. Thanksgiving was 9 days away. Nancy initially wanted to cancel everything. We had hosted every year for 18 years. 20 people. Logan and Tessa. The Whitmores sometimes. My sister. Cousins. Friends. She looked exhausted just thinking about it. Cancel, I said. People will talk. People always talk. I don't want it to look like the family is broken. Nancy. She looked at me. Our job is not to make a photograph believable, she cried. I know. We decided on small Thanksgiving. My sister Carla, her husband, our neighbors Mike and Janice, and maybe Logan if Nancy wanted him. No Whitmores. No Tessa initially, because Nancy did not feel safe around her yet. That was hard for Logan. You're excluding my wife. Your mother is choosing who she wants around her while she recovers. Tessa feels blame for something Bradley did. Tessa wrote our bedroom onto a renovation plan. It was theoretical. Then theoretically she can eat elsewhere. He hung up. 2 days later, Nancy changed her mind. Invite them. Why? All of them. Absolutely not. Frank. Karen and Bradley? Yes. Why? She looked strangely calm. Because I'm tired of them telling the story without me. That was Nancy becoming someone new. Are you sure? No. Good. But I want one dinner where nobody decides what I meant. Then I'll be there. You always are. Thanksgiving afternoon, the house filled slowly. Smaller than usual, but not small. Carla and Tom, Mike and Janice, Logan, Tessa, Karen and Bradley, who arrived carrying flowers and a pie, as though they had not recently been banned from the property. I almost sent them home. Nancy touched my arm. My dinner. I nodded. Karen hugged Nancy carefully. You look wonderful. I look medicated. Karen laughed too loudly. You're funny. I'm serious. Bradley shook my hand. Frank. Bradley. No warmth, no warfare. Dinner began. The air was heavy enough to cut. Everyone pretended turkey required deep concentration. Logan barely spoke. Tessa looked like she had rehearsed calm. Karen complimented everything. Bradley discussed football. 30 minutes in, things almost felt normal. That was when Karen made the mistake. I'm just grateful we can all move past misunderstandings. Nancy put down her fork. What misunderstanding? Karen froze. I just mean the stress. No. What was misunderstood? Nancy, I don't want to reopen. You brought it up. I almost smiled. Karen looked at me as though I had set a trap. I had done nothing. Nancy continued. Was the misunderstanding that you wanted us to move? We suggested options. Was the misunderstanding that Logan and Tessa wanted the house? Tessa shifted. Mrs. Caldwell. Nancy. Nancy. We never demanded it. Did you want it? Silence. Yes, Tessa said finally. Thank you. Nancy looked at Bradley. Did you want Frank to sell the cabin? I thought it made financial sense. For whom? Everyone. Would you sell your lake property for Logan and Tessa? That stopped him. Bradley owned a condo on Hilton Head. That's different. Why? It's structured differently. Carla looked at me. I looked down to hide a smile. Nancy said, No. Why is your property different from ours? Bradley became defensive. I worked 35 years for what I have. Nancy nodded slowly. So did we. Silence. That's the part I couldn't explain when you were all sitting here. Her voice shook but did not weaken. Everybody kept talking about our house like it was unused capacity. Our cabin like it was trapped money. Our duplex like it was something Logan was waiting to receive. Not one of you spoke about our lives as though they were still happening. Karen started crying. We were trying to help. Help begins with a question. Nobody moved. Nancy looked at Logan. Did you know your father had said no? He stared at his plate. Yes. Then why were you here? Because I thought you might feel differently. Why? Long pause. Because you usually get Dad to reconsider things. There it was publicly. Nancy inhaled. So you came to use me as the softer door. Logan started crying. Mom, I love you. I know. No, let me finish. I love you. I would sell this house tomorrow if you needed surgery and it saved your life. I would sleep in my car if your child someday needed something and there were no options. But wanting a bigger house is not an emergency. Wanting our house is not an emergency. Wanting to avoid saving for 5 years is not an emergency. Tessa's face tightened. That's unfair. Nancy turned. Which part? You make us sound entitled. Were you writing renovation plans for a home you were never offered? Tessa looked down. Yes. Then perhaps entitlement is at least part of the conversation. Karen said sharply. Tessa was excited about starting a family. Nancy looked at her. And I was excited about not having a stroke. The table went dead silent. Karen went pale. Tessa cried. Logan whispered, Mom, no. I need all of you to hear me while I can say it clearly. I was on the living room floor. I called Logan once. Nobody came. Logan covered his face. I know. I do not think you wanted me hurt. Never. That does not change that my distress became less important than finishing the discussion. I'm sorry. I believe you are sorry. She looked at Tessa. Do you? Tessa cried. Yes. What are you sorry for? Specific. Same thing I had asked Logan. Tessa wiped her face. I'm sorry I kept talking after you said you had a headache. Good. I'm sorry I treated the house like something we might have instead of something you still have. Good. I'm sorry I let my parents make it sound like moving would be good for you when really I wanted your house. Karen whispered, Tessa. Tessa turned on her. Mom, stop. Something shifted. No. I'm tired of everybody saying we were helping. I wanted the house. Honest. I wanted kids with a yard. I wanted the school district. I wanted to stop feeling like every couple we know was moving ahead while we were stuck in a townhouse. She looked at me, and I thought because you and Nancy had more than you needed, it was okay to hope you'd give us some. Hope is fine, I said. Planning was not. I know, Bradley said. Frank, you are treating this like greed when it was family strategy. That phrase did it, family strategy. I looked at him. Bradley, how much money have you offered Logan and Tessa toward a house? He looked irritated. That is private. Exactly. What? Your money is private. Mine was a group discussion. Silence. You have a Hilton Head condo. Different. You have 2 showrooms and substantial equity. Business assets. You have a retirement portfolio. Frank, no, I am not asking you for numbers. I am pointing out that every asset of yours comes with a reason it should remain yours. Every asset of mine came with a reason it should become theirs. Bradley's face hardened. Because he's your son, and Tessa is your daughter. Nobody moved. Tessa looked at her father. Something changed behind her eyes. Dad, he stared at her. Would you sell Hilton Head to help us buy a house? That's not relevant. Why? Because that property is part of our retirement plan. Tessa laughed once through tears. So is theirs. Karen said, Sweetheart, don't do this. No, I'm asking. We've already helped you. So have they. Much more, I said quietly. Logan closed his eyes. Karen looked at me sharply. That is unnecessary. Maybe, Tessa whispered. How much? Logan said, Tess. No, how much have they helped us? He stared at the table. A lot. How much? I answered because secrets had helped build the entitlement. Around $60,000 over the last 4 years, not including your wedding gift. Tessa went white. What? Logan stared at me. Dad. Rent help when you were between jobs. Car down payment. Insurance. Monthly transfer. Wedding. Credit card charges. The cabin weekends cost nothing to you. Phone plan. Small things become numbers eventually. Tessa looked at Logan. You told me the $600 came from your investment account. It started as Dad's transfer. You said your insurance was part of your work package. No. You told me the phone plan was cheaper because of your company. It is cheaper. Dad's company. Tessa stared at her husband as though a second conversation had opened beneath the first. Why did you lie? I didn't want you thinking my parents supported us more than yours. There, competition, shame, entitlement, all tied together. Karen said, This is getting ugly. Tessa looked at her mother. It was already ugly. Bradley pushed his chair back. We are leaving, Nancy said. That's your choice. He looked surprised. He was used to being asked to stay. Karen stood. Tessa? Tessa stayed seated. I'm staying. Her mother stared. Excuse me? I need to talk to my husband. You can do that at home. I'm staying. Karen's face tightened. After everything we've done for you, Tessa closed her eyes. That sentence is part of the problem. Bradley and Karen left. No slammed doors, somehow worse. Silence after. Mike and Janice politely left 10 minutes later. Carla and Tom helped clean. Eventually, only 4 of us remained. Nancy, me, Logan, Tessa. We sat at the table until almost 9. Nobody planned property. Nobody defended intentions. We talked about the system. Logan admitted he had enjoyed being the child whose problems became family projects. Every time I messed up, somebody had a solution. Usually your mother, I said. Or you. Yes. I thought that was love. It was, Nancy said. And it was too much. Tessa admitted she had grown up in a home where financial help always carried comparison. Mom would say, "We paid for Brooke's wedding, so of course we'll do this for you." Everything was measured. She looked at Logan. "When your parents helped us, I thought it meant they had more money to give." "It did not," I said. "It meant we had a hard time watching him struggle." Logan cried. "I'm sorry I made your kindness feel mandatory." That apology mattered. We did not fix everything at Thanksgiving. Real families are not repaired between pie and leftovers. But truth finally existed in one room without being translated. Logan and Tessa left together. Before leaving, Logan handed me his house key. "Why?" "I don't think I should have one right now." I took it. "Thank you. Can I earn it back?" "Maybe." "Okay." Nancy hugged him. "First time since the hospital." He cried into her shoulder. "I'm sorry I left you." "I know. I should have stayed." "Yes. Not. It's okay." Because it was not. That was Nancy changing too. The next 6 months were hard. The financial support ended on schedule. Logan transferred his phone. Got his own insurance. The lease guarantee expired the following year. The monthly $600 never returned. They downsized nothing except spending. Tessa canceled a luxury gym membership. Logan sold his expensive truck and bought a used Honda Ridgeline that he complained was spiritually disappointing. I told him character grows in cloth seats. He said I was insufferable. Progress. Tessa picked up additional hours at her marketing job. Logan began freelance operations work on weekends. They saved. Slowly. The first time their washing machine broke, Logan called me. Old reflex. "Dad, do you know anyone who repairs appliances?" "Yes." "Can you send the number?" "Absolutely." Pause. "You're not offering to pay?" "Correct." He laughed. "Just checking." "How does adulthood feel?" "Expensive." "Accurate." We laughed. That was different from punishment. He could ask. I could help without taking ownership of the problem. Nancy's relationship with Tessa took longer. Tessa had been the one writing renovation notes. Nancy could not look at the kitchen table without remembering the yellow pad. Tessa eventually asked to meet her alone at a coffee shop. "Do you want me to come?" I asked. "No," Nancy said. "I need to know I can talk to her without you being the scary backup." "I'm delightful." "You're 62 and sulk when the Titans lose." Different. They talked for 2 hours. Nancy came home tired but lighter. "How was it?" She apologized. "Specific? You've created a monster." "Good." She said she was sorry she treated our stage of life like empty space, waiting for younger people. I sat down. "That's actually good." "Yeah." "Do you trust her?" "No." "Okay. I believe she's trying." Different. Exactly. Bradley and Karen did not change quickly. For months, Karen told relatives we had cut off our son because of one misunderstanding. She posted vague quotes about parents who use money to maintain control over adult children. I never replied. Nancy wanted to once. "Don't," I said. "Why?" "Anyone who believes Karen's version without asking us is not somebody we need to recruit. I hate that people think we're cruel." "I know. Doesn't it bother you?" Less than my wife bleeding on the floor. That ended the conversation. Eventually, relatives grew bored. Social media morality has a short attention span. Bradley called me 6 months later. "We should clear the air." "Okay." "I regret how the conversation happened." "What about the conversation?" Silence. "Frank, I'm asking." "I still believe multi-generational planning is smart." "Fine. I do not think we were trying to take advantage." "Fine. You disagree." "Yes." "Then why talk?" "You called." He laughed despite himself. "You've always been difficult. You've always been confident." "Fair." He became serious. "Tessa barely speaks to Karen. That is between them. You started this." "No. Thanksgiving." "Bradley, your daughter asked whether you would sell your condo to help her, and you told her no because it was part of your retirement." That did more than I ever could. Silence. "She says we taught her money was love." "Did you?" "Maybe." "Then work on that." "Do you hate us?" "No." "Really?" Hate takes maintenance, he laughed quietly. Would you ever have dinner with us again? Maybe. When? When Nancy wants to. Everything is Nancy now. Everything should have been Nancy while she was on the floor. He went quiet. That's fair. First honest sentence I had heard from him. Over the next year, Logan became different in small ways. He stopped calling every inconvenience a crisis. He stopped telling us problems before he had tried solving them. When his car needed brakes, he texted, "Got 3 quotes. Going with the middle one." I replied, "Who are you and what have you done with my son?" He sent a photo of an eye roll. When work became difficult, he did not ask me to call anyone. He handled it. He got promoted without my help. The day he called to tell me, he said, "I didn't use your name." I laughed. That is a weird flex. I needed to know I could. How does it feel? Better. Good. Also terrifying. Also good. He and Tessa moved to a cheaper apartment when their lease ended. Smaller than the townhouse. They saved more in 1 year than the previous 3 combined. 2 years after the Thanksgiving crisis, they bought a 3-bedroom house in Maryville, 25 minutes from us. Older kitchen, small yard, no pool. They made the down payment themselves. The day they got the keys, Tessa sent Nancy a photo. Not yours, ours, finally. Nancy cried. So did I, though I blame pollen. Logan asked me to help replace a rotten deck board. Do you need money? I asked. No. You need labor? Yes. Unfortunately, I know a guy. We spent Saturday working. He bought lunch. Would not let me pay. Character growth, I said. Eat your sandwich. A year later, Tessa became pregnant. That news terrified Nancy because she feared old entitlement would return through a baby. Instead, something surprising happened. Logan and Tessa became careful about asking, "Can you watch her Saturday from 2 to 6? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. We can get a sitter. I said yes. Choice made grandparenting joyful. We bought things because we wanted to, not because invoices arrived. Nancy kept baby clothes at our house. I built a small bookshelf. Karen gave the baby an absurdly expensive stroller and, to her credit, did not tell anyone the price until Bradley did. Some habits survive therapy. The relationship with the Whitmores became polite. Not close. That was enough. We saw them at birthdays. Christmas occasionally. Nobody discussed our property. The first time Karen mentioned Greenfield Commons again 3 years later, she said, "They built a new pool." Nancy replied, "Wonderful. You should move there." I nearly choked on coffee. Karen stared, then laughed. Maybe growth. Maybe surrender. Nancy's health improved. Better medication. Less stress. She started water aerobics, despite spending 30 years mocking water aerobics. She made friends, traveled with Carla, learned pottery and produced several bowls I have been legally required to praise. She also became better at saying no. That change reached beyond Logan. Church committee asking her to organize another fundraiser? No. Neighbor assuming she could watch their dog? Ask first. Me volunteering her for dessert at a company picnic? Frank, I will kill you. Healthy. 4 years after the crisis, Nancy surprised me. I think I want to move. I stared at her over breakfast. Who got to you? Nobody. Karen? No. Greenfield brochure hidden somewhere? Frank. Sorry. She looked around the kitchen. I love this house. Me too. I also hate stairs to the basement laundry. I can move the laundry. I hate the yard. We can hire someone. I want something smaller. I became quiet. She smiled. You're upset. No. You're absolutely upset. This is our house. Yes. Logan grew up here. Yes. You picked the tile. I regret that tile. Your mother gave us the dining set. I also regret that dining set. I laughed, then felt tears. You really want to move? Yes. Where? Not Greenfield. Thank God. There's a small ranch community near the lake. No age restrictions. 2 bedrooms, office, screened porch. You been looking? 3 months. Without me? I wanted to know whether I wanted it before asking you to react. Fair. Do you? Yes. We toured. I liked it. Hated admitting it. Less yard, 1 floor, porch. Garage enough for tools. 20 minutes from Logan's new house. 30 from the cabin. We bought one. Then came the question everyone had once treated as inevitable. What happens to the old house? Logan asked exactly once. You selling? Probably. Okay. No pause. No hope disguised as curiosity. Do you want it? I asked. He looked at me. No. I was almost offended. It's a great house. Dad. I'm serious. We have a house. Ours is bigger and costs more. You could. He started laughing. Are you trying to give me the house now? No. Good, because I'm saying no. You little... Nancy laughed so hard she had to sit down. We sold the house to a young couple with 2 children. The wife cried when she saw the height marks inside the laundry room door. Do you want us to paint over these? She asked. Nancy said, That's your house. Do what you want. Later, in the car, Nancy cried for 20 minutes. Choice can still hurt. That does not make it wrong. We kept the cabin. I kept the duplex too because apparently I enjoy plumbing calls. Eventually, I hired management. Logan never asked for it again. That mattered. The day we moved into the smaller house, Karen sent Nancy flowers. Card, congratulations on choosing the right next chapter for yourselves. Yourselves. One word showing years of change. Nancy kept the card. I teased her. Sentimental. Shut up. Our granddaughter, Emma, is 2 now. She believes my entire purpose is opening snack containers. Logan is 35, Tessa 34. Their marriage survived, but not because we saved it. They did. They spent almost a year in counseling after the crisis. Logan had to confront how often he had used family to mean people who should reduce my discomfort. Tessa had to confront how much of her self-worth came from keeping pace with people in wealthier social circles. She admitted once to Nancy, I wanted your house partly because I wanted to post the kind of life my friends had. Nancy said, that is the saddest reason to move someone out of a home. Tessa laughed and cried. I know. She deleted most of her curated family posts over time. Not all. She still photographs coffee like it deserves representation. But she stopped using social media to control family narratives. That Thanksgiving post about outside pressure disappeared. Years later, she apologized to me for it. I made you the villain because if you were controlling, then Logan and I didn't have to admit we were entitled. Accurate. You could soften that. You asked for honesty. I regret asking. We get along now. Not father, daughter close. Real. Bradley and I occasionally golf, which is unfortunate because he cheats creatively. The first time he invited me after everything, I said, why? Because I'm trying to be less of an ass. Strong opening. He laughed. Karen says therapy works better if I practice. She go too? Don't push it. He eventually apologized for the day Nancy collapsed. Not, sorry it happened. Not, sorry she got upset. I saw she was unwell and still thought finishing the conversation mattered. I was wrong. I shook his hand. Thank you. Are we good? We're better. Fair. That is how adult relationships sometimes repair. Not back to innocence. Forward into something less dishonest. I have thought often about what I did after the hospital and whether cutting off financial support was cruel. Some relatives said yes. My cousin told me, you don't teach a 30-year-old responsibility by pulling everything at once. Maybe, but I did not pull everything at once. I gave transition time where transition mattered. More importantly, the goal was not to teach Logan a lesson. That distinction matters. If I had stopped money to make him hurt because I was hurt, that would have been revenge. I stopped because the arrangement itself had become unhealthy. A boundary does not become punishment simply because somebody dislikes living without the benefit it ended. Logan's phone was his responsibility. His insurance was his responsibility. His home was his responsibility. His marriage was his responsibility. We had turned adult obligations into parental subscriptions. Ending them was overdue even without the living room floor. The crisis simply removed my ability to pretend otherwise. I had my own failures to face. I was not innocent because I was the angry father who arrived at the right moment. I had spent years being proud that I could provide. I liked being the dad who knew a guy, the dad who could make a call, the dad who covered the difference. It made me feel useful, powerful, needed. When Logan's adult life became smoother because I quietly removed obstacles, I called that love partly because it protected me from watching him struggle. Nancy and I had built the exact dependence we later resented. That does not excuse his choices. It explains why his choices felt normal to him. We had taught him that our resources were family resources while never teaching him the most important part. Family resources still belong to people who must be asked. Helping should never erase ownership. Love should never erase consent. That lesson changed me with Emma too. I do not buy everything. I do not override Logan and Tessa because Grandpa knows. When they say bedtime is 8, it is 8, unless Emma negotiates better, and I am weak. Nancy says I am undoing all our growth. Probably. But we ask. That is the rule. Ask, ask before borrowing. Ask before planning. And of will. Ask before assuming someone will babysit. Ask before posting a child's picture. Ask before giving advice. Ask before treating somebody else's house, money, health, schedule, or emotional energy like family inventory. And accept no. That last part is where respect lives. Anyone can ask nicely. Character appears after the answer. The morning Nancy and I handed over the keys to our old house, Logan came to help load the last boxes. We stood in the empty kitchen where everything had started years earlier. The yellow legal pad was long gone. The table was gone. The refrigerator hummed. Sun came through the window. Logan looked around. You okay? No. Want to stay? No. Both? Yeah. He nodded. Dad. What? I'm sorry again. You don't have to keep doing that. I know. Then why? He looked toward the living room. Because sometimes I still see Mom on that floor. I said nothing. I hate who I was that afternoon. Good. He looked at me. You always say that. Because hating the behavior can keep you from repeating it. Hating yourself helps nobody. Tears filled his eyes. Do you trust me now? I thought carefully. More. He laughed through tears. Mom said the same thing. We rehearse. I used to think parents either trust you or don't. Children think in absolutes. I was 30. Late bloomer. He hugged me. I love you. I know. Do you? Yes. Even then? Hard question. Especially then. That's why it hurt. He nodded. I think I finally understand. I handed him a box. Great. Understanding carries lamps. He cursed. Family. That afternoon we closed the door behind us. The house belonged to someone else. Our son did not inherit it. Nobody died. Nobody was betrayed by the sale. Logan's life continued. Ours continued. That was another lesson. Relatives often describe boundaries like catastrophic events because they are imagining the loss of access, not the survival afterward. Logan survived paying his own bills. Tessa survived buying a smaller house. Bradley survived not controlling our property. Karen survived not managing our move. Nancy survived disappointing all of them. I survived being called cold. In fact, most of us became better. The only thing that died was the old assumption that the easiest person to pressure should carry whatever the rest of the family wanted. That assumption deserved to die. Last Thanksgiving, we hosted at the new ranch house. 15 people. Smaller table. Folding table for kids. Bradley brought wine. Karen brought green bean casserole and asked before using the kitchen. Character development. Logan carved turkey because apparently responsibility now includes knives. Tessa chased Emma through the hallway. Nancy sat beside me, healthy, laughing, alive. Before dinner, Karen said, "Should we take the family picture?" Everyone groaned. "Before food," she insisted. We gathered near the porch. Someone handed me a phone. I started to step out automatically to take the picture. Logan grabbed my shoulder. "Nope." "What?" "Timer. I can take it. You're in it." My eyes close. "We'll take 10. Wasteful." "Dad." Tessa propped the phone on a shelf. We crowded together. First picture, Emma looked away. Second, Bradley blinked. Third, I looked angry for reasons I do not remember. Fifth was decent. Tessa posted it later with a caption, "I still have saved." Family is not who gets access to everything you have. Family is who learns to respect what isn't theirs. I read it twice, then texted, "That's suspiciously good." She replied, "Therapy. Expensive? Worth it." Nancy leaned over my shoulder. "You're crying." "No." "Frank, allergies." "It's November." Aggressive allergies. She kissed my cheek. Then she said, "You know what I think? Dangerous opening. If you had come home on schedule, I might have kept everything from you." That thought still chills me. Why? I would have been embarrassed. For getting sick? For letting them pressure me, Nancy. I know now. You didn't let them. Part of me did. I kept trying to manage everybody instead of telling you what was happening. I held her hand. Would you have told me eventually? Probably when we were 75 and living at Greenfield. I would have burned Greenfield down. That's why I didn't tell you. We laughed. Then she became serious. You saved me that day. Paramedics saved you. You came home. Luck. Maybe. What? I think the bigger thing was what happened after. What? You stopped making me the person who had to keep everybody close. I looked at her. She had spent her life believing the success of the family was measured by how few people were angry with each other. I didn't know I was doing that to you. Neither did I. Are you happier now? Yes. Even with smaller holidays? Especially. She smiled. Nobody gets to call me easy to reason with anymore. I find you impossible. Good. I laughed. That is self-worth in its least cinematic form. A 60-something woman deciding she would rather disappoint people than negotiate against herself. A father learning his adult son can struggle without being abandoned. A son learning help is a gift instead of infrastructure. A daughter-in-law learning wanting something does not create a claim to it. A pair of in-laws learning their version of family planning ended at our property line. No courtrooms, no revenge campaign, no destroyed careers. Just doors changing from permanently open to knock first. People sometimes tell me I was lucky Logan changed. I agree. I know parents whose adult children respond to boundaries by disappearing forever. I know families where apology never arrives. If Logan had doubled down, if he had blamed Nancy, if he had continued treating our property like delayed inheritance, I would have loved him from farther away. That would have hurt. It also would have been necessary. Reconciliation is not proof a boundary was correct. Safety is. We did not end the financial support to force Logan back into the version of himself we wanted. We ended it because continuing would have required us to keep participating in something that was hurting all of us. His growth was a gift after the decision, not the condition for it. That is why I do not regret the morning I told him the old arrangement was over. I regret waiting until my wife was on the floor to see how far the arrangement had gone. I regret laughing off the Greenfield brochures. I regret every time Nancy said she did not want distance, and I answered by avoiding conflict rather than helping her understand that healthy closeness can survive no. I regret every check I wrote without asking whether I was helping Logan grow or helping myself avoid watching him fall. But I do not regret the boundary. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for an adult child is stop protecting them from the cost of the person they are becoming. Not because you want them to hurt, because discomfort is sometimes the only place responsibility can finally find them. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your spouse is choose them publicly after years of letting family expectations sit in the middle of the marriage. Nancy was not the softer door. She was not the negotiator everyone could use to get around me. She was my wife, co-owner of the life we built, and a woman whose no should have ended the conversation before her blood pressure ever entered it. I know that now. Logan knows it now. So does everybody who sits at our Thanksgiving table. And that is why I would ask anyone listening this question, because families divide hard on it. If your adult son knowingly joined his wife and in-laws in pressuring your spouse to give up your home and assets, and then left his mother alone after she said she was dizzy because he wanted to finish the discussion and she ended up in an ambulance, would a genuine apology and years of changed behavior ever be enough for you to rebuild the relationship? Or would the moment he chose a future house over checking on his own mother permanently change what son means to you?